afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Indie Business Radio for Monday, March 24th, 2008. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and you have arrived at the one place where we empower you to enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way. Today's show is sponsored by Savannah Black, offering raw shea butter direct from Ghana. Also, look out for Savannah Black's Black Soap coming direct from Africa soon. For details, visit www.savannahblack.net. Well, I hope you guys had a great weekend, and for some of us, it is spring break. So I got to tell you, if you hear little people in the background, that's my kids having fun on their spring break. They're out of school this week. So I'm doing my best to minimize the background noise, and I hope you'll be patient just in case you hear them having some fun. Mom's office is right next to their playroom, and that's just how it is when you're indie. So we will just do what we can here on today's show. I am really excited about the guests we have today. First of all, my indie co-host is Colleen. She lives in West Virginia, and she is the owner of the Gentleman's Quarter, a bath and body product store that caters to men and women but has a special focus on men. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. And we've also got, coming up after our first break, our guest author today. She is Susan Wilson Solovic, the author of The Girl's Guide to Building a $1 Million Business. She's also the producer of SBTV, that's Small Business Television at SBTV.com. And we're going to pick her brain about how we as girls can build a $1 million business. And I have some questions about that, and maybe you do too. So you can feel free to join us, 800-773-0355, or email info@indiebusinessradio.com. Well, first of all, welcome to my indie co-host today, Colleen Hurley. Welcome, Colleen.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Colleen, you know, I featured you in my newsletter today, The Indie Experience, and for those of you who want to take a look, you can go to indiebeauty.com and click on the link of the homepage for the latest issue of the Indie Experience newsletter. You can read all about Colleen's business and how it started. So, Colleen, you know, what's really fascinating to me, first of all, I love the business name, the Gentleman's Quarter. That says it all right there. But tell us a little bit about how you started your business and how it was that you came to have this special niche for men's products.
Well, it did. It is kind of an interesting story in that what I had set out to do in the beginning is not really how it turned out. And I ended up just kind of following, for me it was almost like following breadcrumbs, just paying attention to the things that were happening. And in the beginning, I started making bath soaps and some little creams for women, and I wanted to do this in conjunction with my husband, who is also a custom knife maker, part-time, and he was going to be doing shows, and I thought it would be a great idea, a way for us to share that together, and that's how it began. And I always remember that my first two customers were men. And as time passed, there would be women who would call here. This is after I had juried into the Tamarack, which is a tourist place here in Beckley, West Virginia. And they sell wares from the different artisans here in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. And so women, men would be traveling through and they would purchase an item, mm-hmm.
which
would have my contact information.
Mm-hmm.
And then so someone would call here,
mm-hmm.
and these women were telling me that their husbands were stealing their bath soap
mm-hmm.
out of the bathroom, and they were using it to shave with.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
Wow. Well,
and
you didn't expect that, I guess, huh?
No, I didn't, because I would usually say, really? And after that began to happen more and more frequently, I really started questioning that. I mean, that was like, wow, that is just, I wonder what that is. I mean, why is that happening?
And that's interesting, because it really points out the flexibility that business owners need to have going into? I mean, you have a plan, you have an idea of what you want to do, and it sounds like shortly after that you started scratching your head going, maybe I need to change direction already.
Yes, and because my women's products, they were moving, but not quite the way that I wanted them to. Mm-hmm. And so this new little idea that kept coming and knocking on my door, yes, I decided that I wanted to follow that. I was really very curious about it. And what I did, how I actually implemented this, was I joined a shaving forum for men.
Okay.
And I introduced myself. I told them this is what I want to do, and I will send you free samples if you will, in exchange, give me some feedback.
Okay. Now so you joined a forum that was like all men.
Yes, yes.
And you were able to basically get your free focus group.
Yes.
All the feedback, and that's what I call ingenuity and innovation.
Well, thank you.
Well, it really is, because if you think about it, Colleen, I mean, it's, for small businesses, for us indies, it's not like we have a bunch of $1 million venture capital sitting around.
That's right.
We're doing it as we go.
Yes.
And so the money's got to come from somewhere. And how wonderful is it that you can use the Internet, which is practically free,
yes,
to get the kind of feedback you need to shape your products, and not only that, from people who are waiting to buy them.
Yes, yes.
Very neat, very neat. I love that.
Yes, the way that it worked out, it really was like pieces of a puzzle coming into place as long as I was paying attention. If I had not really been paying attention and thinking about this, I don't think that it would have happened. Or if I had continued with my original making products for women and had not listened, to this other opportunity that kept knocking at my door, where I am today would not be happening. And so it really was somewhat of just listening, trying to listen, and it has just been such a wonderful experience for me. I get to talk to people from all over the world. I have customers all over the world. I will say my most interesting customer, location-wise, is in Mongolia.
Wow, that's fascinating. What is the most surprising thing that you have found about being in business for yourself? Something that you didn't ever think about. Besides, you've already told us something that's pretty surprising. But what, from a business management perspective, has been surprising?
Well, the amount of work. Let me say this. I knew that it would be hard work. But the one thing I don't think that I really thought out or considered very well was the power of the Internet. And that whenever especially if you have a website, your business, you're open 24/7. There is no Monday through Friday, weekend off. The orders are coming all the time. They come at 2 a.m. in the morning. They come 7 days a week. And
so you're never off? No. Is that okay?
Most of the time, yes, it is. But I do have days, really where, and I know that there are other women out there who have to be just like this, where you really do just want to have a break, or I would wish, to have a long weekend. And in talking to some other people who are in business, I certainly have learned that you do have to learn to set time aside for yourself.
Well, you have some help too, don't you?
Yes, I do.
So you're not. So are you able then, now that you have some assistance, to take some time off? Sometimes, now and then.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes
it's really tough because your mind, how far away is your mind from it, even if you're in another country?
Yeah, it isn't. It isn't. And, you know, a good example of that was Easter dinner yesterday, and with my family, but still in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, you know, I have to do this tomorrow, and I have to do this. And so it is kind of always there. And I would say I love my business. I love what I do. I love being able to talk to these people from all over the world. And it's also a really good feeling to know that you're making a product that a customer uses and it actually helps them with their skin. I didn't realize that men had so much trouble shaving until I actually got into this, you know, particular line of my business.
Right. Well, Colleen, today we're going to be talking to Susan Wilson Solovic. She is the host of SBTV at SBTV.com. That, of course, stands for Small Business Television. And she's the author of a couple of books. One of them, her latest, is called The Girl's Guide to Building a $1 Million Business. She's had another one previously called The Girl's Guide to Power and Success, which is probably a little bit more broader in scope than this one. This is all about building a $1 million business. And, you know, what's interesting to me, and where I'm going to ask Susan about this when she joins us, is the title of that book. It's just interesting to me because is there something special about a $1 million business that's not special about, I don't know, a couple $100,000 a year business?
That's a good question.
No, and it's a good title. I mean, I think it's important that women see ourselves as capable and fully entitled to building not just $1 million businesses, but $1 billion businesses. I mean, there's billionaires out there, and I think that if good things are done with that money, from taking care of our families to helping stamp out some disease, I think that's really, really good. But it's really interesting to me. I want to talk to Susan about all the businesses that are successful but not $1 million businesses, that are doing probably following her book and some of the tips in her book and never make it to $1 million but are still doing well. So I'm looking forward to that. So tell me, do you have any books or magazines, Colleen, that you enjoy reading that kind of help you and encourage you in business?
Well, I do like the trade magazines, and of course there's the indie magazine, and I always GCI, the Global Cosmetics Industry. Right.
So your trade magazines help you a lot in your particular industry. How about some maybe more any books or magazines like business magazines that are helpful to you besides indie? When we get it out.
There is a website that has been pretty helpful to me.
Okay, what's that?
And it's called Better Management.
Okay, good.
www.bettermanagement.com.
Okay.
And they have a lot of online seminars, and they're free. And for a person such as myself with very little to none business background, business education, has been very helpful to me.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, businessmanagement.com. And then, just before we go to our first break, Colleen, it is wonderful when we can live in a place and time and in a country where, with no business background, you can build a business. And I just, congratulate you on the success so far. And your business is only 3 or 4 years old, so you're well on your way. And we'll be telling everybody we can about the benefits of shaving with your handmade soap. But we're going to take our first break. This is Indie Business Radio. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and we'll be right back.
Why is everyone listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com? Because it's the future of talk radio. Every day, more and more people are finding internet radio as not just an alternative media, but as a replacement to traditional AM and FM broadcast stations. Internet radio offers a wider variety of programs, convenient on-demand listening that meets your schedule, and fewer commercial interruptions. And GlobalTalkRadio.com is already leading the way by matching this content with a highly targeted internet audience. GlobalTalkRadio.com offers its listeners one of the widest programming varieties on the internet, from business and finance to self-improvement, paranormal, health, literature, romance, politics, and more. There are also opportunities for prospective hosts who would like to host their own weekly or one-time talk shows. Want to learn more? Check us out at www.globaltalkradio.com and see the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. I'm so excited to have Susan Wilson Solovic today as my guest. Susan is the CEO of SBTV.com. That, of course, stands for Small Business Television.com. She is a respected author and speaker. She serves on the advisory boards of several organizations having to do with small business ownership. She's also a sought-after television guest on the topic of small business, and she is the author of many books on the topic of small business ownership. The most recent, and the one we're going to talk about mostly today, is The Girl's Guide to Building a $1 Million Business. Welcome to Indie Business Radio, Susan.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
Well, tell me, Susan, now your other book, The Girl's Guide to Power and Success, and of course you've had other ones as well. So let's talk a little bit about Girl's Guide. What is special about having a business book or a power and success book that is aimed squarely at us girls?
Well, actually, there are particular nuances that impact women in either their career growth or starting and building successful business enterprises. As I see that, and what I wanted to do in the first book is to look at a lot of our own self-sabotaging attitudes and mannerisms that hold women back as a whole. And then in the new book about building a $1 million business, I actually wanted to divide the book almost in half to begin talking at the opening about the psychological barriers and the societal barriers to women starting and growing successful enterprises. The interesting thing is we know that women are starting businesses at twice the rate of men in the U.S., and yet fewer than 3% of women-owned businesses ever cross over the $1 million threshold. In fact, alarmingly, only 800,000 ever cross over the $250,000 threshold. So I saw that there was a huge disconnect between the number of women starting businesses and then the women who are able to actually elevate those businesses into successful, sustainable enterprises. And so the first part of the book really talks about what are the societal barriers and what are the psychological barriers that we have. The second book is the real strategic and tactical aspects of building a sustainable enterprise.
And Susan, what in your experience do you see that has led women to start businesses at twice the speed of everyone else?
There are really myriad reasons, but let me just share a few with you. We still know that in corporate America, a glass ceiling exists, and women still earn significantly less than their male counterparts in corporate America, and I'm not going to go into all the reasons for that.
Sure.
But women are saying, wait a minute, if I start my own business enterprise, I have more control over my own destiny, because the research shows that women who are CEOs of successful companies pay themselves commensurate salaries with their male counterparts. So they're trying to even out that pay gap. Another reason is women tend to be very creative, very innovative, and they see opportunities, unique market niches, and they're not able to explore those in the traditional business paradigm. And then the third reason being so many corporations. I just happened to be speaking at a conference last week, which was a think tank for executive women in business, and the whole idea was how do you engage Gen Xers, and particularly women in that environment, and keep them in the traditional corporate business paradigm. And what happens is women today recognize that they're multitasking. They're wearing a number of hats, from being the caretaker in their families to trying to run successful careers to really being great community participants and giving back and being part of their churches if that applies to their lives. And so they've got all of these things to juggle. And the traditional corporate paradigm or business paradigm, it's the same if you're an accounting professional or a lawyer, that paradigm does not take into consideration the nuances that impact a woman's life. So women are choosing to opt out of that environment, and they're starting businesses. And the interesting thing is, and the research, the media pundits never really consider this, it's not that these women want to work fewer hours. In fact, they're working more hours than they did in their corporate environments, but they're working hours that are more conducive and smarter to the design of their lifestyle. And also with technology today, as your earlier guest was saying, Colleen, they can work practically from a bedroom in their bunny slippers and their bathrobe and do business all over the world today. So that's why we're seeing this big flux of women starting their own business opportunities.
And Susan, with the financial issues that you mentioned at the beginning, are we trading in one glass financial ceiling for another one?
Well, unfortunately, yes, we are. Well, it's not a glass ceiling. It is a perceived glass ceiling when it comes to being an entrepreneur. I mean, certainly there are some systemic problems, such as women don't have equal access to credit. Women don't have equal access to markets, and women don't have equal access to technical resources. But that being a given, we know it's there. It's an evolutionary process. We're hoping it's changing. It's getting better, but it's not going to change overnight. So we recognize it's there. Hey, we figure out ways to deal with that. My big concern is in mentoring women business owners and in working with organizations such as Count Me In, which is the largest online micro-lender for small businesses for women, that women are still afraid to see the big picture, to see a big vision and what they could really build for their businesses. In the media, we see women depicted as small micro enterprises and cottage industries, and then we see the mega millionaires such as Oprah Winfrey or Martha Stewart. But there is so much in between. There are so many women who today are building and working to build sustainable enterprises that you don't see. So we need more role models. We need more mentorship. We need to create an environment where women can see, yes, this is possible. Mm-hmm. The second thing is women still have an ingrained, inherent sense of, if I say out loud that I want to make a lot of money, that's greedy and ambitious. And
where does that come from?
I'm not going to say it. And you know what? There is nothing wrong with making a lot of money. I particularly like making a lot of money. Susie Orman likes making a lot of money because money is what gives us economic freedom, access to our government, abilities to give back to our communities, to our churches, and most importantly, women who are starting companies and growing them to larger organizations are finding that they're able to create environments that are family-friendly, that do take into the nuances of creating an environment that is more conducive to lifestyle needs, both for men and women, and it's a great feeling.
Susan, do you think that attitude of sort of not wanting to say, I want to make a lot of money, I want to be financially successful, do you think that comes from sort of just an upbringing that generally occurs in the world or in America? And do you think that more role models is what is going to work towards changing that?
I think that more role models certainly is going to help. I've been very fortunate in my life to be able to reach back and touch some women who had very little resources or very little opportunities in their lives and show them that, wow, look what you can do, and give them an opportunity to really change and turn their lives around. And, many times one of the great rewards for that is for them to come back and say, I had no idea this was possible. Thank you so much. So role models, certainly. But unfortunately, we also live in a society that there are both family-related messages to young girls as well as media-related, external societal messages that still depict women who are in powerful positions as not being good women. If you think about it, in the media or in television programs, let's just talk about this popular program, The Devil Wears Prada. How was Meryl Streep depicted? Not a very nice person, although in the very end, she actually did have a heart. She was hard driving, she was ambitious, but they've depicted her as being a real you-know-what. And that's what we see. Women who, in fact, one of the things I write about in my book is, what does a $1 million woman business owner look like? And I say, you know what? Look in the mirror, because there she is. She could be you, your next-door neighbor, somebody, your kids play. You meet at the soccer games when your kids are playing soccer or at the ballet recital. It could really be anybody. And that's what we need to say, because I think it's fine if a woman wants to start a lifestyle business and say, I'm doing this, I want to supplement my family income, and that's all I want to do. As long as they make that decision in an educated environment where they are able to see all the options and opportunities that are available to them.
So, Susan, in the title of the book, Building a $1 Million Business, I've read a lot of the book, so I have an idea about what I think about this, but I'm interested in what you think about whether the title could have been as effective if it was The Girl's Guide to Building a Successful Business.
No, it wouldn't have been as effective.
Or even a profitable business.
Well, here's the thing. Once your business starts to cross over that $1 million threshold, you have a business that is truly sustainable. So you actually have gone from creating a job for yourself, meaning you're creating some sustainable income and the business is going along pretty well, but if you stop doing what you're doing, and what you're doing and contributing to the business yourself, then what you have is basically a job. When you cross over that $1 million threshold and plus, you have created a business. So you have something that you could sell. You have something that you can walk away from, and it's still going to be operational without you being there doing it every single day. And when women say to me, I don't want to build a $1 million business because, oh my gosh, I'll be way too stressed out. I'm already working too hard now. I can't take on anymore. I say to them, you know what? When you have $1 million plus business, you are now in a situation where you're able to hire the resources that you need, the talent within your company that's going to help take you to the next level. You're able to buy outside resources. And suddenly, you aren't down in the trenches doing it every day, but you become the strategic and visionary leader and the evangelist for your company, and you know what? It's a lot less stressful. I'll have to say for myself personally, I remember the first vacation I went on where I actually only checked emails once a day. It was a great relief because I know the team that we have put in place at SBTV.com, they're bright, they're talented, they're creative, they know what they're doing, and you know what? They don't need me looking over their shoulder every day.
And Susan, how long did it take you to get to the point where you could take a vacation like that from the time you started the business?
Well, this business, actually, we were very fortunate in the fact that we launched the business model in 2004, and by 2006, we were a profitable organization, and I was actually able to take that vacation. So, we grew this business very rapidly. That was our business strategic model and plan. In the book, I talk about different growth scenarios. There's certainly a more cautious, slower growth pattern. There's the fast ramp up, which was our business. There is, franchising your business. There is direct selling for your business. So there are multiple models of growth that you should look into to determine what is the right growth pattern for your business.
And Susan, I want to get back to a point you mentioned earlier about the need for a girl's guide or women's books that have to do with this issue. And I have a question to ask you, but I've just been told I have to take a break, and we have to do that. So we're going to take that break, and I'm going to save this question for when we come back. And invite anyone who's interested in talking with Susan. This is a great opportunity to talk with someone who's been there, done that, and is doing that at SBTV.com. You can give a call at 800-773-0355, or you can email your question to info@ndbusinessradio.com. This is Donna Maria. We'll be right back.
Want to stay on top of what's new in the radio industry? Sign up for a free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio, available exclusively to listeners of globaltalkradio.com, and find out what's new in the world of online radio. Listeners can find out about new shows and special guests. People with something special to offer can find out how to become a guest and how to prepare for an interview. And prospective hosts will find a valuable resource for everything from planning their new program to selecting topics and guests, recouping expenses by selling advertising, and more. Sign up today for your free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio by visiting www.globaltalkradio.com and learn about the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. I just want to let you know, in case you're hearing a little bit of an echo, there are some weather problems on one of the phone lines. It may or may not be audible to you, but if it is, I hope it's not too bad, and I certainly hope that you'll stay tuned because Susan is definitely giving up the goods here on the show today. That is Susan Wilson Solovic, the author of The Girl's Guide to Building a $1 Million Business. She's also the CEO of SBTV at SBTV.com. So glad to have you here, Susan. Now tell me, I have another question. This is kind of based on the conversation we started a little bit earlier about the need for a woman's guide. And I'm wondering if you think there's also a need for a book that might be titled something like this: The Guy's Guide to Dealing with a Woman Who's Building a Multi-million-dollar Business.
You know, maybe my husband could write that one. I don't know. Actually, the interesting thing about this book is a number of the reviewers on Amazon.com are men, and they said that they actually got a lot out of reading the book themselves. So the other interesting thing is that there was a research study called The Future of Small Business, actually, and it shows that the traditional white male that we think of when we think of a small business owner in the next 3 or 4 years is actually going to be in the minority, that it's going to be women and minorities and young people, the Gen Yers, and the baby boomers are going to be really starting businesses at accelerated growth.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because there is very little out there to assist, encourage, inspire, whatever the word is, women to build these kinds of businesses in the context of a relationship with a man.
Well, that's true, and actually, I'm sure you read this in the book, there were a number of cases that women who started businesses who became very successful, their relationships did not work out, sadly. And then, there were some that actually it was great, but I do talk about relationships may change and that you should be prepared for that. It can change with your friend circle, with your family circle, because suddenly your interest and your stress level or the things that you're dealing with on a daily basis is going to be much different than some of your friends that you've been friends with for a long time. And personally what I've found is in order to keep those friends, because I just treasure their friendship so much, is I just don't bring my business into the conversations. We talk about things that, girlfriends talk about when we're together.
Mhm. Mhm. So you can control that within yourself, but I guess from looking at that chapter in your book, it is sort of a fundamental fact, isn't it, that when someone's attention is so devoted to something that not only they enjoy and they really love doing, but which also, is generating a lifestyle that they want to have, that relationships, have to adjust to that, or sometimes they end.
Right. Well, that's true. And, the other thing I say is sometimes there are people in this world, sadly, that when you're pushing ahead and you're becoming successful and you're working, they would rather try to take that away from you by saying bad things or being toxic people in your lives.
Right.
And sometimes you have to make a decision about just, getting toxic people who are trying to take you down. Sometimes you have to make a decision out of getting them out of your life. And that's true also sometimes with customers. In growing an organization, you have to fire some customers. Simply when you've been over backwards and done somersaults and flips and, the relationship just isn't working out, sometimes you have to fire that customer because it's going to drag your business down and your employees down after a while.
Susan, I'd like to ask you a little bit about growth strategies. If in all the questions that you get from women who say, I'm so stressed out I couldn't possibly make $1 million business work, your response shares some of the options that they have, like direct sales and franchising. What are some of the responses that you get, and do you have a couple of examples of business owners who were in that stressed out mode and then they took one of these options and now they're, have a story to tell?
Sure, absolutely. A friend of mine from Little Rock, Arkansas, in fact, you can see one of her, a story I did on her on our website, actually on our women's channel. Her name's Margaret McIntyre, and she started a company called Candy Bouquet International. Now, bless her heart, she started this company 3 times, and the first 2 times she failed miserably. But she so believed in this great alternative to fresh flowers, which are these candy bouquets, that she went at it again. And the 3rd time she went at it, she decided that the best way to grow the business, actually 2 things she did. First, she started giving the product away. So in her own community, she gave the product away to banks and businesses, etc., so that they could experience the product. But then the second thing is she decided to franchise. And so she started building franchises, one at a time here and there. And now she has one of the largest franchise organizations in the world with franchise outlets literally all over the world. I don't even remember all the countries she's in. But that's the growth strategy she took, extremely successful. So, you really have to look at what your product and industry is and what your risk tolerance level is, just like if you were investing in a portfolio, and then decide what strategy is the best for you to grow your organization. And that's going to take some outside advisors, putting together an advisory board that you can lean on and ask them questions to occasionally. I thought Colleen's point about really, listening to what your customer base is saying and what they're telling you is critically important in growing a business and an organization. So I think that, that's one of the important things. And the other thing I really want to stress here, though, in terms of any growth, is the importance to be technologically savvy and to get your business online. I'm always amazed at the number of small businesses who still don't have websites. Or if they do have a website, it's a waste of time because it's so poorly done. So I really think that businesses who are learning to incorporate the Internet and their websites into their business strategies and plans are the ones who are also able to grow. Even if you have a bricks-and-mortar site and you think that's all you want to be is that corner store, bricks and mortar, why not have an online website that can also help your customer base in your area, maybe bring in business from all around the world? And I just want to say one thing right here. I want to share with your listeners. I'm actually have the opportunity to be part of a great 5-city tour that is called Visions to Venture, and it is about for women entrepreneurs who are interested in starting and really growing their businesses to that next level. The first one is coming up on April the 2nd in St. Louis, Missouri, which is my hometown, but we're rolling out across the country. We'll be in San Diego, Miami, Austin, and Redmond coming up. So it's a great opportunity, but it's being sponsored by Microsoft Office Live Small Business. And when I was talking about technology, the great thing about this product is it's a series of web tools that help small businesses really get their businesses online. And if you'd like to learn more about the Vision to Venture Tour or Microsoft Office Live Small Business, you can go to SBTV.com and click on our business calendar. And for your listeners today, if they register through SBTV.com's site, there actually is a discount code that I can offer, which is A as in Apple, T as in Tom, D as in Dog, S as in Sam, 2041. Or you can just go to smallbusinessofficelive.com as well.
And there really is no excuse not to have a website these days. It's hardly an expense anymore.
Right. Well, and the great thing about this service from Microsoft is it's a free service. The basic package is free. You can get a URL. You can get, professional-looking email addresses. I just can't say enough good things about it, and I recommend it to a lot of small businesses that are starting up, and this tour, in addition to myself, John Jantz is going to be there, who, by the way, would be a great guest on your show, Donna Maria, but he's written a book called Duct Tape Marketing, which is great, just, practical small business marketing tips that can really help you catapult your business to the next level.
Susan, have you talked with any of your, any people in your book that went from, the point in time that we were talking about where they're kind of stressed out, wanting to go to the next level, who use direct marketing?
Yes, I can. The great thing about direct selling is, and the reason it's so popular right now, is the fact that it's a great opportunity not only to build a business with very low levels of inventory and initial investment, but it's also a great way to socialize. So there's a couple of women who actually started a jewelry business called Silpada Designs, and the two moms, stay-at-home moms, they took some money, they tried a couple of businesses, and then they took some money out of their grocery, like $25 a week, saved up a little money, and started making silver jewelry themselves. And then they thought, well, how are we going to really market this? And, several different ways they tried, just really didn't work out. So they started hosting in some of their friends' homes, like jewelry parties. And before long, their friends were saying, well, wait a minute, this looks really cool. You sell jewelry, you have a party, I want to do this business. And so really without, I think, a master plan, more by default than design, they recognized that this direct sales approach was a great way to grow their business, and they're really a huge company now.
And Susan, I want to ask you about that moment, that point in time, that period of time between, oh my goodness, our jewelry's great, we make it ourselves, people like it, let's have a home party.
Right.
Being able to actually structure a business around that business model. There's a period of time in there when a lot of people get lost.
That's very true, and that's where that additional advice comes from, that you really need to ask people and get involved in the organizations. For example, the Direct Selling Association, I think it's DSA.org. It's referenced in the back of my book. They have great information and, online chat rooms and things where you can ask questions. So, and then, you know what, you may stub your toe a couple of times. You'll learn what works, what doesn't work. The big thing is when you do, stumble along the way, is that you learn by it and fail forward. Is what we call it. So you learn by that experience, and then you move forward. And maybe during your experience you find out that direct selling isn't for your product. But personally, I believe that any product that sells well because it needs to be experienced, so that hands-on, that taste, that trying something on, anything that is has that exponential type of sense to it, I think it lends itself very well to direct selling.
I think people are sometimes, Susan, afraid of that sort of hit or miss. Not that that's what you just described, but I think to some people it feels like hit or miss. Well, you could invest a year in trying direct selling and maybe it's not for you. Or you could try franchising and maybe it's not for you. I think people are sometimes afraid of that, because usually it means there's a lot of money gone.
Well, yes and no. The great thing about the direct selling strategic growth pattern or franchising is typically you're not going to have a huge amount of investment up front. I'm franchising a little bit different in that you have a lot of or FTC documents and things that you have to have filed, and you have to work with an attorney. But the thing I think here is that when you're growing a business, you're going to go down a path occasionally that's not going to work out. You can't be risk averse. You have to be willing to learn from that experience. And some of the times the reason that we fail is not because it really doesn't work. It's maybe we're not getting the right strategy, we're not finding the right people to work with us. So working with professional advisory board, reaching out to people who have done this successfully that you can learn from, those are all key elements. And one of the things that I think women often make a mistake in is the fact that they want to do everything themselves. They think, oh my gosh, we can do this, we can figure it out. But you know what? One of the reasons that SBTV.com has been successful and I've been able to be successful is that I recognize that, you know what, I am not good at everything. In fact, I'm really not good at everything. So I have two great partners, business partners, who we all have various different backgrounds and experience levels and education and expertise in different areas. And the other thing that we've done is, at least for me, is I know that I want to hire people who are a heck of a lot smarter than I am. And we've done that. And so it's a great team of people who augment each other's skills. So when you say going down a path and it just doesn't work out, the first thing I would say to do is really assess what are the skill sets and core competencies I'm going to need to make this path work for my business, and then make sure that you have those pieces in place before you move forward.
And Susan, with your business, I know we can go to your website, and I know there's great videos there and really some wonderful content there. Congratulations on that. And you said it just took a couple of years to get that to the point where it was viable, successful, without you having to do all the work?
Yes, that's true. We had a very aggressive growth strategy. We knew that we were sort of a pioneering type of website. And when you're doing something new and you're trying to be the market leader, then you have to move fast, because if you don't move fast, you're going to have missed opportunity and someone else is going to grab that market share. So we've made many enhancements along the way. We now do daily news broadcasts that you can come to our site and actually watch a news broadcast that's focused right on small business interest and needs. We have great video programming. We have great text material, print articles on our site, educational how-to. We have featured advisors who are some of the best business minds in the country, such as Michael Gerber and Susie Orman. We have blogs on our site, and we are just launching our Business Center community, where people can create their own profile. They can come to our site to connect, can collaborate, and very soon to contribute their own content, either video, audio, or text, to SBTV. And very soon we'll have SBTV Radio, which will be our 24/7 stream of just small business radio content.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That's a wonderful thing. I love doing radio. So you have got, this has been up for how long now, Susan?
We launched in January of 2004.
Okay, great. So I want to make sure everyone knows where to go to get all this information. SB, as in small business, SBTV.com. Susan, this is just great. And, while you're there, guys, you'll see links to Susan's books, one of which is, and the latest of which is The Girl's Guide to Building a $1 Million Business, and you can buy it there. And Susan, just thank you so much for joining us today. I wish you continued success, and I just am so thankful that you shared so much information in the short period of time we had together, and I know you have inspired and encouraged a lot of people. So we'll be looking for more from SBTV. Thanks for joining us, and of course, thanks to you, my listeners, for taking time from your schedule to be with me today. And thanks also to Colleen Hurley, my Indie guest co-host. Well, I'll see you next week for another great edition of Indie Business Radio. In the meantime, enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.